Peomore costs at $25 million, and Northeast High School fire alarm upgrade at $1 million. Additional funding for physical plant operation, primarily for beautification and for HVAC and other capital improvement projects, is $11.7 million. Additional environmental health and safety projects that include building automation systems, drainage and stormwater modifications, as well as AED purchases, is $5.8 million. Additional equipment purchases that include music equipment and beacon equipment refresh is $3.3 million. IT includes E-rate infrastructure upgrades and other technology initiatives at $2.5 million. Demolition of portables is $2.5 million. And additional security projects that include vape detection system and other security equipment is $1.5 million. Athletic scoreboard replacement district-wide for this year is $600,000. And the replacement of unsafe bus lift and other transportation equipment is $300,000. Details of this is also attached in the appendix, Appendix A. So on slide 7, the district is engaged in ongoing efforts to improve the way our facility serves our students and staff, and to improve the condition and appearance of those facilities, as in the redefining effort and the facility condition assessment. As we go through those processes and make decisions about specific needs, the district can utilize any available resources, including financing capacity, to address future projects that are identified. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this plan, and at this time that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll have public comment.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 3 registered speakers. First, we have Kimberly Burke-Mulhorn, followed by Linda Ferrara.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kimberly Burke-Mulhorn from Margate, Florida. Just want to question about Bethune's playground, and where does the playgrounds fall under the plan?
We can address that when we don't really go back and forth.
Oh, I thought that you said that the questions were, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next public speaker.
Good evening, Linda Ferrara. Just a couple of items came up. People were asking me why we're renting space for these departments at Rock Island when we knew 4 years ago that that was sold and that they needed to find a new space. It's a little disconcerting to see that $2.6 million is being spent on that when there are vacant vacant schools like Plantation Middle and North Fork that could probably have housed them. The other thing is the $1.7 million in the DEFP for Fort Lauderdale for Sunrise Middle School. I couldn't find that anywhere in the DEFP. And I know it was approved on 8/19. I thought there would be an amendment to it. And the last thing was, considering how Rock Island went, what is the plan for TSSC when you do decide to sell that? Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the record, Dr. Natalie Lynch-Walsh registered, and that concludes our registered speakers.
Okay, thank you. Board discussion, Dr. Holness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Madam Chair, I have a few motions to make, and I also have a couple of these are pertaining to the entire district, and a few of them are more specific as it relates to the motion that was passed regarding the $5.9 million for Broad Estates Elementary Ecosystem. Would you like me to go through each of them, Madam Chair, or would you like me to go through some of them and go around the board? How would you like me to proceed?
Well, I have a question. Do you have them typed out?
I did, but we had some recent changes, so as a result, I'm not able to distribute.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, you can read them one at a time.
Okay, great. Thank you. So During the meeting of July 22nd, it was requested that information be brought back for further discussion and potential action on playground shade structure district-wide. And regarding fabric shade structure at playgrounds, there are currently 314 playground and fitness area across 145 district facilities that lack shade structure over the equipment. Of these, 130 elementary schools account for 272 playgrounds without shade coverage, excluding 19 fitness areas. The estimated cost to install a 20 by 40 feet shade structure over equipment is approximately $60,000, resulting in a total projected cost of $16,322,000 to provide coverage for all 272 playgrounds. So that's pretty much a summary as to the district's response, and thank you, Dr. Hepburn, for providing us with that information as we had directed you to. So I am, and this is district-wide, so I move that the district educational facilities plan includes the installation of shade structures over all 272 elementary school playgrounds currently lacking coverage. The implementation shall be phased over a 20-year period with priority given to schools with the highest need base. The estimated total cost of this initiative is approximately $16,320,000 based on a projected cost of $60,000 per playground.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on the motion? Board discussion on the motion? I have a question, Dr. Hepburn. So have you had any discussions with our partners to see if they would cover the cost of some of these shade structures?
Yes, I know it's been an ongoing discussion through Mr. Chisholm and the partnership group. We've been trying to garner some support. Some of it is probably going to be partial and not full due to the cost. And so, yeah, there is some ongoing discussion. So if we do secure any funding, it can be included to address some of those needs, and then whatever funding is not needing that's in the DEFP could be pushed to support something else.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else?
Yes, Madam Chair. So, Dr. Hepburn, you did mention, as we spoke, I believe, when this direction was given, regarding a 20-year period, and based on the number of playgrounds across the district, over a 20-year period with $16 million, what are we looking at approximately per year, and how many playgrounds?
I don't have that info in front of me.
It could be an approximation.
Yeah, if we say 20 years, $16 million, who's the math genius in here? Go ahead, Omar.
Yes, it's approximately
800,000.
Yeah, it's just over 800,000
per year.
Okay. So, Dr. Hepburn, would you suggest that we do this evenly throughout, or is there sort of a phased in where you do 2 or 3 and it continues to increase over time, or how do you plan?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Wojciechowski, that it was an attempt to do, if you have the data or the numbers in front of you. I know it was a certain number per year due to the volume.
Yes, and I apologize, I don't have that in front of me. I'm going to say it was like 15 per year. That may not be the right math, but we had a schedule for all 272 broken out per year.
Okay, and so approximately 15, give or take. And Dr. Hepburn, how are we prioritizing as to which constitute greater need as we go through the 20-year phase?
Go ahead, Ms. Wojciechowski.
So it was based on demographics and just general locations of determining which school has the most need.
Okay, so I know the point of this is it appears that each year, the weather seems to be more unbearable for our students. And I know there are probably some playgrounds that actually have some natural shade covering, whether they're trees or whatever it may be. Are we prioritizing based upon that factor or just demographics?
We will look at that as well. We have some data from Broward County that we can compare and utilize to make those comparisons.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn and the rest of the board, I do believe this will be beneficial to all of our students district-wide to provide the shade covers so our students can be in a safe playing environment. This happening over a 20-year period, I think, will continue with future board members that this effort to safeguard our kids from weather conditions and so on is very important. So I do hope that it's supported.
I have one other question. Dr. Hepburn, where would this $800,000 per year come from?
It will come out of the DEFP. I know it would come out of the reserves if everything else is already allocated out.
And,
Yes.
okay. Do we have the capacity for that?
Mr. Shim?
Yes, we have more than that amount allocated per year. That's not allocated.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Alhada?
Is it already in the DEFP?
No, it's not already in there.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand where then, to go on with Ms. Higson's point, where is it coming from? So if it's going to be added, are we taking something away?
It will come from the capital reserves. And Mr. Shim, if you can go over the amount in capital reserve.
Yes. On slide 4 of your presentation, there is on the very last line, it shows unallocated funding of approximately $211 million. And then the first years are unallocated funds that we've been carrying over, but there's additional unallocated funding in each individual year. 6 million in 27, 14.5 in 28, and so on. So that's where the funding would come from.
And do we have, because I remember we allocated money for playgrounds renovations, and the shade structure wasn't incorporated in that?
No, it was not.
Okay. I'm just wondering, because 20 years is a really long time, it's an important piece to have, it should really be a standard to a playground to have this shade structure, especially being here in Florida in this heat. So I know you're looking at the cost, but I'm thinking more to do it in a 10-year period of time than a 20-year period of time.
Do you want to make an amendment or another motion?
Sure. So based on Dr. Holness's motion, I would just revise it to be done in 10 years instead of 20 years.
Second.
Okay. Any public comment? Continuing board member comment? Oh,
Chair, I'd like to speak when it's easy.
Go.
Sorry.
Yeah, public comment. Go ahead.
I couldn't get out fast enough. Are we talking about metal structures or are we talking about fabric structures?
I believe.
Fabric.
Okay, so I would go back and take a look at what the lifespan of a fabric is, because I know for some places it's only 12 years. So 20 years, you already would have a number deteriorating. So I'd go back and take an analysis of that for the number of cities that have already put up structures for like the last 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Zeman?
Oh, thanks so much, Chair. I just have kind of one big question and then kind of a specific budget question. For the superintendent, why wasn't this a high enough priority to be included in the DEFP? I mean, in some sense, this is a pot of money that is used for paying off interest, for buying laptops, for buying school buses, and for both new buildings and facility maintenance. It is an account that's changed this year as we have found some funds in the general fund that could be paid for with capital, which is great. But why is this? I mean, in general, it's hard to argue against coverings for playgrounds until you start to think about all of this money comes at a cost. If we spend money on playground coverings, we're not spending that money on playgrounds. We're not spending that money on painting our schools, which is so important right now. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Superintendent, why wasn't this? Did this not make your cut in terms of a priority for capital funds over the next 5 years?
So most of our decisions have been made off of district priorities that were voiced to us either one-on-ones or in board meetings. I know that we've talked about some specific schools for coverings, but also just for the board to know, it's not a requirement. So as specs are being built out for new playgrounds, it's based on the evaluation of that playground and the actual need. One other thing I forgot to mention too, that we're going to have to probably come back to the board with that data. There is a cost associated with the coverings also. So if there is a windstorm, a high windstorm, if we have to take our buses off the road, we have to remove the fabrics off the playground and also put them back up once the storm is over. So that's an additional cost to us too, that we would have to go hire vendors to do that because we wouldn't have the capacity to do that district-wide at 270 plus playgrounds. So we'll come back with that information also. I think the 20-year plan initially also gives staff some time to evaluate. The speaker makes a good point about fabric versus the metal structures. We do have some schools that do have metal structures over like their basketball courts or even sometimes over their playgrounds where they last longer and you don't have to remove them pre-storm and replace them post-storm. So it gives some time to evaluate too, just to make sure we are putting up some structures that are going to be long-lasting and don't bear additional cost over time.
I appreciate that, Dr. Hepburn. For my taste, we don't know enough about this item for me to support it yet. We don't know the number of schools. The other reason that I can't support this is while nobody would argue against coverings for our kids in the school year, particularly in the non-winter months, these are prime opportunities for cities to contribute. You know, we still have cities that have not contributed as much as other cities have, but they still want access to our facilities after hours. And this is, to me, kind of the perfect opportunity for cities to contribute in smaller chunks of funding. You know, they can't afford to build a whole playground, but they or local community, even parent groups can fund coverings. And to me, when I think about all the other things we need capital money for, improving the fronts of schools, tearing down, really rotten chain link fences that need to be replaced, just painting the schools, cleaning the schools. Capital funds do a lot of different things. And until I have maybe a more specific number of schools and a specific engineering kind of thought about what would make sense, I don't think we know enough to set aside funds. The other funds that are in this plan have been specified. You can look at any one project that's there over the 5 years, and there's been someone from PPO or somebody from one of Ms. Paul's staff that have looked at it and have come up with pretty clear estimates of how much it would cost to do any of the projects over the next 5 years. I just don't feel like we're at that point yet. And we can add to this plan throughout the year. But for me, the capital needs that we have in Broward County, this would not be the highest priority, to be honest. I'd rather have more playgrounds than more coverings. I'd rather have better, facilities that attracted parents to come and take tours in our schools again. I think we have a long way to go with beautification and painting and cleaning so that people look at our schools anew and decide to come in and take tours. So I would just like to learn more about this before I can support it. And then we can make a decision about, is it 10 years? Is it 20? How do we, make sure that the need is really clear? And I just don't feel like, we're at that point right now. And I also think the superintendent did not prioritize this. There's a lot of things in this program, a lot of things, very, very detailed. And they're all a reflection of the superintendent and his staff's recommendations. We could probably spend $20 billion in DEFP over 5 years. We just don't have that much. So I just don't think it's the right time to be moving forward with rough estimates of things over some time period where we really just don't know enough about the size of the problem yet. And also, this just did not make the superintendent's priority list. I'd hate to kick off $1.6 million a year of other priorities that were specified by the superintendent and the staff. And that's what would have to happen under a 10-year plan.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you, Dr. Holness, for making this recommendation. I am supportive of it, especially because as a parent of elementary age students, if it is too hot, they can't even go on a new playground. So why invest? I'm actually a little confused by why structures wouldn't, or shade structures wouldn't be put into building a new playground, because again, it gets so hot almost every single month of the school year. My kids won't be able to play on the playground because it's too hot. So I think at least if this doesn't pass today, moving forward, that should just be the expectation, that if we are building a playground or repairing it, to include the price of a structure. I think fabric structures are what most communities are actually using. They last about 15 to 30 years, depending on the quality of fabric. And so I will be supportive of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Mrs. Bowman?
Thank you, Chair. I also support this. I agree with Ms. Thompson. The ability to be outside in the blaring heat, it should be taken under serious consideration for the health of our children. And I was in a meeting in the last couple of weeks, and I believe it was the Broward Climate Task Force, and they were specifically talking about the increased heat and even the importance of having water sources outside for the kids, particularly away from the schools, because if there was some kind of a code or fire drill, whatever, where they had to evacuate, that without the water source, there have negative health implications. So I think from Ms. Leonardi's item that she brought a couple of months ago with the resiliency and the heat, this all ties together. And if we're going to prioritize the health of the children, I think this is really important. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Holmes?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I want to also reiterate, to which I believe majority of us agree, is that student safety is our priority, right? Student safety is number one. Students have to be safe whether they're in the classrooms or on the playground, and safety is not necessarily someone coming on campus. Safety is the environment we create for them that is safe. And so there is no price to me on the safety of our children, and we don't have the luxury of delay when it comes to our students' well-being. So while there may be other priorities that are mentioned, like painting a school, I think anything that leads back to compromising the safety of students, we need to address as a board, because there are students who go on playgrounds with certain health impairment, that they may not be able to sustain the conditions, the environmental conditions, without a covered playground. So I think that, and I do hope the board supports this, but when it leads back to student safety, I think that's number one. We have to create a safe environment, then we educate our students, right? So for me, as a father who had two children who were in elementary, middle school, and so on, I would be very concerned as a parent, and I can imagine that my thoughts resonate with all parents. So we can't put a price on student safety, and I think this is priority. And to be fair to the superintendent, we did ask him to come back many weeks ago when this came up with some data and information, and he did. And so the item now is to determine as a board if we want to move forward with this, to which I haven't heard any great objection from staff as well. So the question I have, Madam Chair, is Dr. Hepburn, with Board Member Al-Hadef's suggesting a 10-year span, is this doable financially? And secondly, in terms of the lifespan of these covered playground structure, will there be an ongoing replacement plan as the lifespan is exhausted, or as for whatever reason those overhead structures are no longer usable?
Yeah, I'm going to ask Ms. Wadachinsky to answer the first part of that question, but yes, there will have to be a replacement plan, because those shade structures, those fabric structures, are going to deteriorate over time. So we would just have to know from the product that we use what's the actual lifespan, so we can determine what's a good replacement plan. But go ahead, Ms. Wadachinsky.
Allison Wodashinsky, Director of Environmental Health and Safety. So I did find my document. So we did, the 20-year plan was 15 playgrounds at various number of schools, depending on how many playgrounds are at a school, for $900,000 a year. So that would basically double that. So 30 playgrounds at about 1.8 plus or minus. And that was a 20 by 40 shade. Every school is going to be different. Potentially, we'll stay within that range, but that would be the amount. And hopefully to help, my understanding is that the lifetime of the shade is about 8 to 10 years of the fabric.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, I guess one of my questions was, is this doable financially based upon the budget?
So based on what Mr. Shim just mentioned, that's yes. It would come out of capital reserves, and we will have to build a replacement plan also for starting probably at year 7 or 8.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, with the replacement plan, because none of us is here forever, right? So as the person who succeeded any of us, the replacement plan obviously will fall to the person who obviously succeeded. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yes. I have a quick question.
Madam Chair, I got report.
Okay, hold on one second, Ms. Rupert. You'll be next. I have a question for the superintendent. So when you gave the cost of the fabric shades, did you do any research on what the metal shades would cost?
No, we just go ahead. I don't know if Ms. Weddings, I don't want to speak for her if she did any on the metal.
We've done a little bit of research on the order of $100,000, $200,000 or more, depending on how tall it has to be, or the size that we end up doing. So
okay, so I very much support the idea, but I kind of think we could use more data, and since we know we can come back to change it, what I think would be helpful is to have how much the metal would cost, and then how much it cost us if we have to take it down in a windstorm, because potentially that could happen 2-3 times a year, depending on what kind of storm year we have. So I think that information would be really helpful, because it might make more sense that to have that metal structure that, like you mentioned, doesn't have to come down, it lasts longer. So although it would cost us more in the beginning, would actually be more efficient in terms of covering it, because the shade ones could get holes in it, all of those things could happen. So although I support what your motion is, I'd really like to have more of that information, so we make a better decision on whether it should be metal or it should be shade, so that we look at it in a more holistic way instead of just hurrying up to do it. So I almost want to ask to postpone the item and bring it back to us later with all that information, so we could make a better decision on that. So Dr. Holness.
Okay, Madam Chair,
Don't forget me.
You're next.
If we do postpone the item, I guess my question to Dr. Hepburn is, can we get this back at the next board meeting, and can this item come back to us at the next board meeting?
No, I don't think it'll be able to come back, because the team will have to go out to the physical.
So when do you anticipate is the earliest we can get this
Ms.
back?
Wodashinsky, based on your team and how they assess, how much time would you think it would take to assess all of the playgrounds to kind of evaluate the possibility of metal structures?
I'm going to put myself in a hole. I mean, I have a few weeks, but there's a lot to it, so mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to. If I say a month, we might have it done. I haven't I haven't thought about that.
Could it come back to us not in September but the October meeting?
Possibly, because I know there's a lot to evaluate. If you have trees that are, all. Yeah.
Talking about a larger
Yeah.
like footer and structure if you're dealing with a metal structure.
So, Madam Chair, can we, in some form or way, tentatively set the date for October, and then the superintendent can inform us at the next board meeting the progress of this and whether they're able to meet that timeline?
We could do that.
Okay, so all those in favor of,
Well, I think Board Member Al-Hadef motion is on the floor, so I'm thinking there has to be a motion to table this. Or
right, that's what I was going to ask.
Okay, got it.
Ms. Rupert wanted to speak.
Yeah. Mrs. Rupert?
Thank you, Ms. Alhadef, and Debbie, thank you. What I really want to just say for district-wide is that we have facilities currently. I personally have Lions Creek Middle School. The AC has been out a lot. We have kids that are inside our buildings not getting the climate and the safety that we need to do in our permanent structures. I absolutely 100% support our schools having playground and shade structure to keep them safe, happy, healthy, and not boiling. But I also feel very strongly about the schools that our students are sitting in with active mold and rain coming into, roofs leaking, and air conditioning and other things like HVAC that are a major problem. So I honestly can't get on board for the play structures today. I agree 100% in tabling this so we can get that information. But for me, it will have to be, we need to include what's going to have to go by the wayside if we do this with the money. There has to be that. And I, for one, won't support an outside structure over our interior of our permanent structure school. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zeman. Dr. Zeman? Mrs. Bowman?
Thanks, Chair. If we're bringing back additional information, I think, the main cost in my understanding, because I've looked into this before, is if you have the fabric shade, is to install the posts so that they're hurricane. So once you've got that initial investment, I'd like to see what the shade cost is, because that might not be nearly as significant. If we had to replace shades, and we could probably make a policy of when we take them off or whatever, but it might not be as expensive once we put the initial, so once we come back with that. So in addition to figuring out if a full structure would be a better idea, I'd like to see just like what the breakdown is for the cost so that we could make an educated decision about what we want to do.
So let me just repeat what I'm hearing. So an estimate of cost for metal shade structures for all the playgrounds that don't have current shade structures. Also, in addition to that, we have the cost for the shade structures. What would be the replacement cost after the lifetime of that particular shade? We will also include the estimated cost to take down and put back up for windstorms, so that we can do that on a annual cost.
Right, because we might just let it go if it's not that expensive to replace it.
Yep. So we'll bring that information back. You got that, Ms. Wojcicki?
Dr. Hepburn at the October meeting.
At the October meeting, and if we don't have all of the numbers.
Motion to table it, right? Ms. Batista? Yes. So I move to table this item until the October 14th meeting. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Motion carries. So the item is tabled until October 14th.
Okay, Madam Chair.
Anyway, postponed, tabled.
Postponed?
Yes, postponed. Dr. Holness.
No problem. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll move on to the second. Didn't anticipate that one would take so long. So the second one is that, and I'm sure all of us are aware, there is emergent concern as far as safety in middle schools and what students bring on campus. And I believe we've had this discussion in the past as far as, I know we have metal detectors in our high schools, but we've had incidents too that maybe metal detectors would have captured some of these incidents that put our students' safety at risk. And so different emergent concerns, one of them recently, sort of alerted me and alarmed me to want to make sure that our students in the middle schools are safe as well. A lot of these situations that could cause significant safety to our students seems to occur in the middle and high school. So in light of the recent incident that occurred, and I won't necessarily elaborate on that, I move that the implementation of metal detectors in all district middle schools be included in the DEFP with full completion by the end of 2026-27 school year, and implementation beginning in August. By the end of 2026-27 school year.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment? Board member comment? Dr. Hepburn, do you know what that cost would be?
We have to look back at our costs per school for high school. I want to say it was about $10 million to outfit all the high schools, if I remember correctly. Go ahead, Chief Gregory. I don't know if you have the past costs or even Ernie. Multiply that by, we can't remember the specific number of middle schools, would probably be about 4 to 5 times that. I know that Ernie's look like he's looking it up.
I'm looking, but more important than the cost of the metal detection is the staffing required at each middle school to appropriately manage the metal detection process. So we would also have to include the cost of additional staff to fully implement the metal detection program with fidelity.
Yep, because naturally high schools have more security personnel due to the numbers of students on campus, so we have to look at that too. So we can bring back those numbers to properly staff it.
Mrs. Alhida.
Thank you. And also, if you could compare what it would cost to put AI technology in cameras, and then also to have a more elaborate randomized metal detection in different classrooms, and then also look at providing more ammunition sniffing dogs at schools. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to process it, because this is the final DEFP. So these were more kind of conversations from the first one. So is that an additional motion? Don't we need to, because we're voting, don't we need motions?
My point was just to, say that there is other ways to create layers of safety protection. And if, we're going to put $50 million into this one layer, maybe we need to look at all the other different layers to see what, based on our Chief Gregory, what he opines as being the best way to create a safe environment for our students, and also based on the school security risk assessments.
So I'm just, so does Mrs. Alhida, because does she need to make a motion to give a direction to the superintendent? Because we're in a voting space here, and that was a lot. And it's separate, though, from what Dr. Holness's motion is, so I don't know what to.
Right. So the first step would be to have a vote on Dr. Holness's motion.
And then let
I'm not sure if Mrs. Alhadef would like to make a motion, or she's just wanting to bring an item for discussion.
I was just really discussing it as this is another potential opportunity that we have. You know, I don't know, you know, this is safety and security. If this becomes a closed door conversation, you know, our chief of safety and security, you know, he's going to opine on what is the best way to move forward with the most protection for our schools and also weighing the financial risk. Like, do I agree metal, you know, should we add metal detectors to middle schools? Yes, but is that, you know, or do we have that financial capacity to do that, or is it the best use of our money?
So maybe when we finish with Dr. Holness's motion, you could do a motion to direct the superintendent to bring those things back in a closed door for us to have the discussion. Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean, it depends what, you know, whether a closed door is necessary. It would depend on the information.
So maybe the motion doesn't have to say closed door,
Right.
just ask the super. So let's finish with the metal detectors and then we'll come back to that. Dr. Holness?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like also, the suggested timeline in the motion is 26-27. I'd like the superintendent to weigh in on that, and if there is need to extend that timeline, I have no problem with a board member making a motion to lengthen that timeline as a result of cost. You know, but I do strongly believe that it's important that we start to ensure the safety of our kids in middle school in light of things that even recently happened that we all know about. And also, I agree with Board Member Al-Hadef that there can be additional layers of security too that we can consider in addition to the metal detectors. But the metal detectors seems to be working well in the high schools. And Madam Chair, before we continue, Dr. Hepburn, can you tell us, based upon the implementation of metal detectors in high school, how has that proven to be beneficial to the safety of our students since we've installed them?
Dr. Hepburn.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Holden. It's been very beneficial. Knock on wood, haven't had any issues this year. I think we had one single issue last year that we can't pinpoint if that particular item was on campus for years due to the condition of it.
Okay, so due to the condition,
very successful.
Absolutely. So due to the condition of that particular weapon, we don't know if it was sitting there for a couple of decades.
Correct.
Right. So and prior to the metal detectors, can you provide a comparative summary as to the improvement we've seen in terms of weapon detection on campus?
I can give you something anecdotal because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we utilize the data to support the need to put it in high school because that's where our issues were. We're at high schools with students bringing things they shouldn't have on campus.
Okay, so here's my subsequent question. In middle schools, not having metal detectors, has there been, and you don't have to elaborate, but has there been incidents where weapons were brought on campus in middle schools this current school year, and have we seen that in the past years as well?
So I would say yes, this year, one issue. In the past, the data wasn't comparative to high school.
Okay.
And our middle schools, our middle school students, or middle schools outnumber our number of high schools significantly. And when you compare the data to high school and middle school, the incidence at the middle school level is significantly lower.
Okay. Would you agree that one incident is one too much if it results in the tragic consequence of a child?
I agree.
Okay. All right. So, Madam Chair, I still support this item. I don't know what time frame, and board members can talk about it, would be reasonable for this to be done, but I think we need to start to ensure the safety of our middle school children.
And Chief Gregory, you wanted to weigh in? If I can get Chief Gregory to weigh in real quick.
Mike Gregory, just wanted to elaborate a little bit more. Obviously, Ms. Elif is right. We do have a multi-tiered security plan in place right now, which is a benefit. Obviously, there's a deterrent effect to having the metal detectors in place. That's very effective as well. But it is an expensive endeavor, and roughly we're talking about 42 different middle school schools with middle school age students in them. And some very rough estimates that we're looking at right now would be projecting approximately $9 to $10 million investment between equipment and the staffing to support that equipment at those schools. Of course, we still have to do a study at each individual school to look at the flow of children going in and out so we can see how many specific number of devices are needed at each site. But without that information, we're talking about that order of magnitude for the investment in this.
Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. At this point, I'm not very comfortable voting yes on this. I think we need more information. I think there's also other ways that Ms. Saladef referenced that we could be investing money in, and I think it's very worthwhile to come back to a workshop or a closed door to talk about it. But at this time, with the grand scope of what we need to spend money in and the lack of information, I'm not comfortable voting yes right now.
Madam Chair, can I revise my motion?
Sure.
Okay. I'd like to revise the motion to direct the superintendent to bring information back to us regarding the feasibility of having metal detectors and additional layers of security in middle schools.
Second the motion. I mean, it was already seconded, but Mrs. Alhada.
And can he also give us data on the Sessor data for those middle schools to show us, which middle schools has the highest level of Sessor data and put it in order?
Sure. And can we add on to, since it's a directive, all of the pieces Mrs. Alhadef had asked for, so it's all one motion? So, perfect. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, Madam Chair, I don't want to be the only one talking so long. So these are specific to Broward Estates. So if it can come back to me, that would be great.
Okay, Mr. Severe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Got a couple inquiries that I'd like to discuss with the group. First things first, in looking at the executive summary that was provided, specifically on page 4 for the new funding recommendations, the total amount that's listed is $434,600,000. The actual appendix A that was provided in the package has a different number of 434, 521, 321, 434 million, 521,321, which on my math is a difference of about 78,679. I'm assuming, although I always hate to assume because we know what happens when we assume, right? But I'm assuming that the executive summary number of the 434,600,000 was sort of just a rounding up for ease of reference, and there's not a real differential of 78,000 plus here.
Dr. Hepburn.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the Appendix A the grand total on the Appendix A is the exact number to the T that we're asking for, correct?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sometimes for presentation purposes, when numbers are rounded, you have to adjust the numbers so that it makes sense. So yes, it's just a rounding.
Understood. Just wanted to clarify. On to the second item, if I may. Mary Bethune is, according to the executive summary, slated to get 16. This is on page, I believe, the bottom of page 4 of the executive summary. This school is slated to get $16.1 million for a replacement building. This is also identified in the appendix as well. It's my understanding that Attucks Middle School is across the street from Bethune. And it's also my understanding that Attucks has a capacity to hold approximately 1,000 students. Attucks was on the list that we discussed for our multi-pronged reimagining of schools, and it was discussed, I believe, at the last session or the session before. My question is, why not combine Bethune and Attucks, make it a K through 8? It's my understanding, I did some research on this, I referenced Google Maps, and I actually drove by to confirm. They are basically next to each other. And having a K through 8 center housed specifically at that school, which can hold 1,000 students, I think would be a good middle ground, which will allow the school to operate at capacity. We have $16 million that we're talking about as allotment is concerned that can potentially address some of the concerns that Dr. Hepburn raised last time with the mandatory bathrooms and the kindergarten classrooms. Although if memory serves correct, I asked for a list of some of the impediments of combining middle schools and elementary schools last time. I don't think I ever got it. The only one that comes to my memory right now is the bathroom thing. But if we're having $16 million, I'm sure we can build plenty of bathrooms if we combine these schools. If that happens, we then have the ability to have an empty Bethune building, potentially sell it, lease it, do other things that will generate substantial funds for the district. So my question is, first of all, is that possible to combine, or is there other impediments that I'm not thinking about? And if so, what is the process that we would need to explore that idea more fully?
Dr. Hepburn.
Yeah, so as you know, with Redefine, it will be going out to the communities, and that is one of the communities we'll be having discussions with. And, you know, it's a two-way conversation with the community and staff, and to explore all possibilities. So recommendations will come out of that discussion, but at the end of the day, we work at the will of the board. So when we bring back our recommendations, if they don't align to all board members, and board members can make motions for other directions that they feel we can move into for certain outcomes from those community meetings.
Well, I guess for purposes of today, I mean, we're talking about designated $16 million to Bethune for a replacement building on a school site that perhaps should be combined with this with the Attucks Middle School. I certainly would at least like the public to be able to consider that option. I think it's a good one, especially when you consider the close proximity. I think you can literally like throw a football between the two campuses. So it's not like a situation where we're potentially going to close up shop in one building and send the kids 10 miles down the road. I mean, they're literally neighbors. So for purposes of today's session, before committing $16 million to a replacement building at Bethune, what are the options to potentially, I don't know if it's a table or asked to bring it back at the next workshop or meeting that we have, but I would like to fully explore the ability to combine these schools as a K through 8 and potentially have Bethune as an opportunity, as real property that the district can utilize to start bringing in some serious dollars, whether that's through a lease to another whatever, or we sell the property altogether, but at least we have the space for our kids.
So I have a quick question, because if I'm not mistaken, that $16 million is part of the Smart Bond money. Is that correct? Is it part of Smart Bond?
I'm seeing heads shaking as a no. Go ahead, Mr. Shim, if you want to elaborate.
No, that $60 million isn't a part of the SMART program. I believe that there was a smaller allotment of dollars for it, and this is outside of the SMART program. But I know that it was being discussed in the SMART program. These dollars are not bond dollars.
But it's an extension of a bond project.
Yes, it's what came out of discussions about the SMART program.
Okay, so thank you for that. And so I would have a concern because we made a commitment to the community. I would not want to right now take that commitment away until we have a discussion with the community and decide whether we're going to put Addicts and Bethune together, we can bring the DEFP back, and if that's something that the community decides on, we could put that money somewhere else, but I would not be in support of taking that money and not committing it, since it isn't a new commitment. It's actually been on the DEFP for probably the last 4 years. So I don't think that that's fair to that community to make a decision here today based on information we're not sure about when it's been sitting on the DEFP for all this time. Mrs. Bowman?
Thank you, Chair. I do not support that, just for the record. If you went in and looked at the building that's being replaced, it's absolutely awful that we've let a facility get to this condition and people are working in there. And if you go around to other parts of the county, people are not working in similar conditions. So I appreciate the historic input there, that it's been on the DEFP for years. This building needs to be replaced. We made a commitment to the community, and you have to understand that there's a lot of dynamics going on, and our communities differ from place to place, and going in to make this solution is I do not think going to be accepted as a ready answer to some of these problems, particularly in my community, between Addicts and Bethune, which have a lot of history in Broward County that goes back to basically the beginning of Broward County. So I'm appreciative that we are finally putting this on the DEFP. Actually, my question was to Ms. Burke-Mohorn's comments at the beginning of the meeting was about the playgrounds, because it was brought to my attention that they were on the original plans from, I think, 2023, and now they're not.
We have
there.
to stay focused
we're
on, yes.
Is this a motion?
He's just having a discussion about making them a K-8. So when we
we're
get
having
to
it.
yours, yeah, we're still
sorry.
on Mr. Severa's suggestion.
Okay.
And I don't think it was a motion. He just said he wanted to discuss it.
It was a discussion, and I guess the concern was, and I appreciate the historical reference, the fact that maybe this has been on several DEFPs, maybe that preceded me. I just, whenever you talk about proximity for schools and potentially combining them, I think all options have to be on the table, right? And if we're voting or we're committing today $16 million for a building replacement, it's to me it's almost as if you're just killing the idea of potentially combining the Addicts and Bethune campuses into a K-8 without having the necessary community input or having the ability to flesh that out any further. I certainly can appreciate the fact that this $16 million has been promised, has been talked about for however long it's been, but I think we're at a crossroad now where everybody on this board realizes that some changes are going to have to be made in some of these schools, and if we have a good opportunity here for potentially combining them and taking the $16 million and using it to expand Addicts or renovate Addicts, I think that would be a potentially a viable option for our constituents and everybody in the district. It wouldn't appear that my suggestion has much support after hearing from some of my colleagues. But let me ask it this way, Chair: is there a way that we can maybe sort of do both, like move forward with this today tentatively, but still leave the opportunity to have that community engagement to discuss about the potential combination of both schools, and if a consensus is ultimately made and we see that like a lot of people are supporting this, maybe redirect those funds if we decide to combine the schools and redirect those funds to Addicts?
I would say absolutely. That's why
Okay.
you can always bring a B item or whatever item back to, if that is what comes out of the community conversation, to be able to move those funds to somewhere else. But I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't support taking those funds away now till we know what that bigger picture looks like. Dr. Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wouldn't support that suggestion either. Dr. Hepburn, can you reiterate when we started the phase one of redefining, that there were many factors to which we consider redefining, and historical significance is one of them. When you look at Addox and Bethune-Cookman, can you provide us with a summary as to what the historical significance of those two schools are?
Yes, I'll ask our resident historian, Dr. Wanza, back there to provide some information on that. Great question, Dr. Holness.
Good evening, Valerie Wanza, Chief Strategy and Innovation Officer. Thank you, Dr. Hepburn, Dr. Holness, specifically to your question. So as a part of last year's process, and actually the year prior in 23-24, we published a document or some documents relating to schools with historical context, right? And so these are schools that pre-integration were schools that were known in this community as historically black schools. They've gone through several iterations of some type of repurposing, and I will tell you, Addox specifically was one of the district's 3 historically black high schools, and it is the only one of the 3 that was closed and never reestablished as a high school. We know that Dillard High School never closed because they were able to have a court injunction that prevented them from closing when the district started to implement its desegregation strategies. Addox was the first high school to close in 1968, and it was converted to a middle school. And then Blanche Ely High School was closed in 1970, but eventually it reopened in 1975. But Addox High School never reestablished itself as a high school. It has been a middle school since 1968. And we have gone through, I will say, at no less than 10 different times, points in time where the exact idea of combining Bethune Elementary School and Addox High School into a K-8 school, that has gone out to the community several times, and it has come back each time with the community, and I'm going to use the word vehemently opposed to combining those 2 schools into one because of their historical context and their historical standing in the school district. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I'm still okay. So, Dr. Hepburn, and thank you, Dr. Wanza. And I believe you were at one point a principal at Addox, right?
So no, I wasn't a principal at Addox, but both of my parents graduated from Addox.
I know there was some connection. All right, thank you for that. Dr. Hepburn, in terms of the historic significance of Bethune Cookman, is Dr. Wanza able to elaborate on that as well?
Go ahead, Dr. Wanza.
So when, and I'm going to go back to the, I'll start probably as early as the 40s, but definitely the 50s. That entire complex was a K-12 school. So Bethune was the elementary part, and Addox was the part that served the middle school and high school students. Very similar to how Dillard High School is situated right now with Dillard Elementary School, that entire large complex. So Bethune has been an elementary school, as we know, in the district since the 40s, 50s. It is currently the Southern Performing Arts School, because we have 3 countywide performing arts schools at the elementary level: North Andrews Garden in the north, Walker in the central, and Bethune in the south. We do know that we did expand some programming as a part of the K-8 to Hollywood Central K-8, but Bethune, Walker, and North Andrews Gardens are the primary performing arts feeders, if you will, that feed into Parkway Middle School, that then feeds into Dillard High School's performing arts magnet. But that school, Bethune, to answer your question, has been, I'll have to go check the boundary book. It may be the late 40s, but definitely the early 50s. And the entire complex at one time was a full K-12 school until the district started the integration efforts and the high school portion. The high school grades were moved out, and it was just elementary students at Bethune and then middle school students at Addox.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, with that information, and considering that we've tried that multiple times with significant opposition from the community, considering the history of these two schools and the importance to the black community as well. If the board should proceed in this manner, would you agree that you would anticipate the same level of resistance, if not the perception of the board as being insensitive to the community, in addition to other things? Would you agree that that could be a strong possibility?
Could be a strong possibility if history repeats itself. I think that's why it's important that we continue with the cadence of going out to the communities, not just that community, but all the communities that we've slated to go out and have those conversations, so we can get the right type of feedback and empowering them to help with this decision making too.
Okay, so I'm going to finalize my comment, Board Member Chair Hickson. So I think as a board, it's very important that we are being cautious in how we proceed with redefining, considering community input and being sensitive to the historical context of the schools. As a board member, we will be responsible in taking those factors into consideration. And whenever we have suggestions, it's important that we actually have significant research on specific schools to understand their history and their significance to the community. And also, we have to continue to get community input when we move ahead to show our sensitivity to their needs.
Thank you. Mrs. Leonardi.
I think my point was made already about, when we have money allocated to a school and then we choose repurpose, we can always allocate it to that universe. Thank you.
Mr. Severa.
Thank you. First off, thanks to Dr. Wanza for the information and the historical points. I think I heard multiple times that this has already been proposed and the community has not reacted in a positive manner. So for me, that's why we have these conversations, right? If this is something that the community is, I think she said it was vehemently rejected, if I heard correctly. That's sort of the information that I certainly would like to know about. Be that as it may, Chair, if I may, I had 3 items. This was just the second one. If I could move on to the third one. But I appreciate all the information and Dr. Wanza's. I think she did all that from memory. I didn't see you look down at once, so kudos to you. Thank you. Resident historian. On my third item, Madam Chair, looking at Appendix A on the first page, the line item and columns for security and safety, it appears that we're allotting roughly $17 million over the next 5 years. Madam Chair, does this include our salaries for our SROs?
Dr. Hepburn.
No, it does not.
Do we have an apportionment of what that amount is approximately for the next?
Dr. Hepburn.
For salaries for SROs?
5 years, yeah.
I don't have that data in front of me, but that actually comes out of our general budget. And we're actually in negotiations now for our next iteration of our contract, but I can provide that in a follow-up.
Fantastic. And my last question on the safety and security issue, our new badges, TJX badges, it's my understanding when I was doing some research on this is that the state had given us a grant of $5 million for approximately 3 years, which ends in 2028. Is that accurate?
Yes. Is that accurate? Go ahead, Mr. Lozano, Dr. Lozano.
No, every district receives a portion of the state allocation for Alyssa's alert. It's nowhere near the $5 million.
Do we know how much BCPS is getting?
We're probably paying roughly about $4.5 million of that 5.1 over the 3 years.
Hold on, because now I'm confused. My understanding is that there was a grant from the state that assisted with the funding over a 3-year period. Did we get an apportionment of money that we are using towards our yearly allocation?
Correct. So that would be about $500,000 a year.
So we receive $500,000 a year towards the ultimate
towards
price.
Whatever. So there's like 9 vendors every district can choose from.
Okay.
And they get that portion. 500 is probably a little generous, to be honest. It's probably more like 350, 400,000. I remember because it paid for our Safer Watch. So we get that portion from the state, and it changes yearly through each year's budget, but we do allocate money from the state, and we picked up the majority of that cost.
Let me see if I can cut to the chase here, because my concern is, and I want to make sure that in our 5-year allotment here for security and safety, if we lose that grant, or if that grant expires naturally at the end of 3 years, I want to make sure that obviously we still have the funds necessary to make sure that we're not going to miss a beat with our alert badges.
Go ahead.
We would be able to successfully cover that.
Okay.
If we didn't have the state allocation.
And just so I'm clear, because I apologize, maybe I read something wrong. I thought BCPS was getting $5 million. I didn't realize it was spread out more vastly than that. So our apportionment or our allotment of that is approximately $500,000 a year for BCPS to cover the yearly costs.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. The majority of my questions were answered at our first hearing. I just wanted to follow up. I had made a comment about the Casey Wright flooring and how I thought that it was more important to make sure that our school campuses were being replaced with flooring, and I believe the tile was taken off, but they're still replacing like carpeting here. And Panther Run's carpet is like covered in mold. There's been health issues. It's not even on the list. So it bothers me that we're allocating so much to Casey Wright when we have a school with actual health issues that I've talked to staff about, so I think they're looking into, but I would like to see at least the portion of the funding going to replace our school flooring, but I don't know how to make that motion.
Dr. Hepburn.
I don't know if Ms. Paul or Mr. Shim want to provide any additional information to help with create a motion.
That is something we can look into, as stated previously. We have a lot of needs throughout the district, carpeting, flooring, just the list goes on. The carpet that we replaced in many cases in KCW, trip hazards, rips, and that's significant. But it's also apparent that there are issues in the campuses that we are addressing. The DEFP has been a great tool in doing that. We can definitely assess the carpet at Panther Run, but also, as you know, we have the FCA that's wrapping up, and that will identify, just all the needs across the district to include flooring. So we will definitely take a look at Panther Run.
And I fully recognize that we have the FCA and that there's a lot of issues throughout the district. I would just like to, I guess the motion would be to push that funding off to not start this year, at least so that there is money to be redirected to school campuses flooring. Would that make sense?
So the delay.
So there's 333,000 allocated for
Casey Wright.
For Casey Wright, 2025-26. So I'm not even saying take away all the money. I'm just saying there are school buildings where our teachers and staff members are suffering, and I think that needs to be prioritized.
So you're saying delay?
Just
Yep.
so keep that pocket of the 333,000. You could push it back, but at least then there's money this year to look at the schools that actually need to be addressed sooner.
Second. Is there any public comment? Thank you. I have a question, again, similar to my other question. So is there a way to, because it sounds like some of what's happening here is that, like she said, trip hazards and rips in it, and this is the building that represents the school district. We don't want people coming in and tripping over things. Is there a way to do both? Like, does it have to be Casey Wright or the schools, or do we not have enough funding to maybe the motion would be to add an allocation for funding for schools with whatever amount you think would be maybe comparable to what we have, so that it's not either or, it could be both.
So I hear what you're saying, but it's still both this way. It's just not doing it this year. Like, it's prioritizing our school campuses.
Dr. Hepburn. Ms. Paul.
Go ahead, Ms. Paul.
So I think the 333,000 that's reserved for KCW is for those issues where we have, in this 14-floor building, we have trip hazards, rips, and so forth. And so, I mean, we could not do it if that's the will of the board. But again, you know, as we have these issues, we try to address them based on safety. And so worn and carpet is a concern, but more importantly, if it's ripped and it has the possibility of people getting hurt, then we're required to address it. Some carpet here, we have tape over it, and those kind of things. So, you know, we serve at the will of the board.
Is there, if there was a motion made to put, let's say, the same amount of money for schools as there is for KCW, would there be priority one or the other? They could work in tandem with, you could be working on the schools at the same time that you're working on KCW.
Go ahead, Ms. Paul. I was going to say something, but go ahead.
I think we are continuously working on those issues and replacing carpet and replacing broken tiles and VCT in schools. So that's part of our preventive maintenance program in general. So we are doing those things. So even though it may appear that we're reserving money for KCW, we're still doing the major work out there in our schools every day.
Thank you. Mrs. Leonardi.
Yeah, I guess a few different questions. So, well, in one point, if we delay or postpone the $300,000 for KCW, that's not creating another pot of money for our schools. That's simply delaying the dollars for KCW, correct?
That's correct.
So I don't know. Well, let me back up. So Ms. Paul just said that the replacement of carpet and things like that at our schools is a part of routine maintenance. Did I hear that correctly?
Ms. Paul.
Yes, and you know, the only limits we have basically is funding, the ability to fund all the projects that we need to do across the district. So that's part of our program.
Okay. What is staff, or was staff aware of my colleague's concern about Panther Run?
I'm not personally aware of it, but we can look and see if there's a work order in the system. If the school did provide that information, then I'm sure we have it in our system.
Got it.
I would have to look at that.
Okay. And then help me understand, so say someone puts a work order in to have carpet replaced because it is a health hazard. What does the timeline look like to get that replaced? Is there a scenario in which it doesn't get replaced because there is no funding in the DEFP for that?
If it is a safety-related issue, that definitely will jump to the top of the list for replacement, and we've had those situations, obviously, in a system this big. So if it's wear and tear, then obviously it would go a little bit further down the list. But one of the things that we want to make sure we do have is visibility of it.
Got it. Thank you. And I agree with my colleagues' concerns about making improvements to KCW instead of our schools. As someone who worked in our schools, that it was eye-opening to come into this building. I don't know if you want to make an amendment to your motion because right now it's not really, the motion as it stands doesn't create new funding for our schools. It's just postponing the funding for KCW. So that would be my recommendation. Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Thompson?
I do, but I am struggling. Staff was notified back in the summer that there was mold issues. I have the email records of it. I also have teachers reaching out saying that they're been prescribed medication now because of their asthma flare-ups and et cetera. And I see that there's an item for flooring that's various schools district-wide floor replacement. Can you expand on what that means? Because I think I have a way to do this.
Dr. Hepburn.
Mr. Shim or Ms. Paul?
So that reads exactly what it is, to replace as required flooring, carpeting, hard surfaces, those kind of things.
But is that based on, because I think I know we need a little more, is that based on need? Is that those emergency situations? What is that?
So first is emergency related situations. And so it's a priority. If it's a safety related issue, that would jump to the top of the list. If it's routine maintenance, or if it's not the whole school, if it's a certain area of the school, then we have more affinity of being able to do that. But if it's a school-wide replacement of carpet, then that's additional funding that we just don't have. We basically do emergency maintenance with the funds that we have.
Okay, then I believe I would like to make a motion to take the 2025-26 funding from KCW carpet replacement and move it into the flooring for various schools, district-wide floor replacement. And I would really like staff to look at Panther Run because it doesn't seem like that's happening yet.
Second.
Public comment? Any other board member comment? I'll just jump in before we vote. I understand what you're saying, but there are safety hazards with carpet in KCW. So I don't want to take all the money away from what's happening here because it's a safety hazard here. So I'll just leave it at that. Dr. Holness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if you don't mind, Madam Chair, I am trying to get some clarification. Regarding Board Member Thompson's motion, if in fact that this board can vote to support looking at Panther Run specifically because you've observed that there are possibly hazardous situations with their flooring, and in addition to that, vote on keeping the funding for the condition of the flooring for KC, would that meet what you're looking to do, or are you looking to go beyond Panther Run? And if so, are there other schools that are at the forefront of your mind? I'm just trying to get some context.
So I think I would like to go beyond just Panther Run. I would just like to also point out there's already $1 million allocated to Casey Wright replacing flooring throughout the building. It just wouldn't be done this 25-26 year. I think probably all of us could name schools that might not be on the DEFP or aren't getting repaired until 5 years from now that probably should. And I believe just funding that line item, if it's like Ms. Paul explained, that it's for emergencies or health and safety,
Got it.
then I would like to do that. And again, they would still have, Casey Wright would still have the allocation of $666,666. It just wouldn't be repairs done this year. And I believe we've already done a lot of carpeting in KCW, at least on the 14th floor, on the second floor.
Okay, so Madam Chair, so the motion is inclusive of schools based on priority, with Panther Run being one of those schools? Is that what the motion is? Okay, and Dr. Hepburn, with this motion, do you interpret this motion as simply delaying the work for KCW this year? And
Dr. Hepburn.
From my understanding, that's what I'm hearing, unless Ms. Thompson is saying otherwise. Delay Casey Wright.
Move the money that is allocated for this year to Casey Wright to that line item, which, just to clarify, to my understanding, is to address carpeting and flooring issues based on safety, health.
Period
concerns.
across the district.
Period across the district.
Regardless if it's school or district facility or admin facility.
A school, like schools where our children learn, those buildings, with a push to please evaluate Panther Run.
Okay.
Okay, and this would be $300,000. Is that what it is?
Go ahead, Mr. Shim. I saw his hand up. Want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to support what Mrs. Paul was saying with regard to the funding. These schools that are listed here is on top of what's being proposed for maintenance. Maintenance is funded over almost $100 million to do most of its emergency maintenance work. And so this is on top of that. So things that what you're saying that would go to routine maintenance is already funded in the plan under those funding.
So, Madam Chair, with Mr. Shim's information, I'm assuming that Board Member Thompson's motion could be fulfilled through funding from maintenance. So if the motion is rephrased to allocate that amount of funding from maintenance equivalent to what's been done to KCW, would that be doable? And would, based on Mr. Shim's information, that's my understanding, that we could actually get it done through the maintenance funds and still continue with the KCW allocation. Am I missing something?
I don't know that it needs to be moved from the maintenance fund. I think what they're saying is it's already covered under it's already happening.
Okay, so
what the staff is saying.
I hear you, but I don't think Board Member Thompson is confident that that will move ahead. So can there be a directive given to the superintendent that maintenance funds is used in similar quantity or amount as being used at KCW to prioritize schools such as Panther Run?
Ms. Thompson.
Sorry, what maintenance line item are you looking at? Because what I'm looking at when I referenced and asked Ms. Paul was there was no money allocated in 2025-26, and that was now I scrolled. That was the flooring district-wide line item. Hold on. Thanks, Bud. So is there a floor? But also, this isn't maintenance. This is a replacement situation. But I don't want to just advocate for our school, for one school.
Correct.
So I guess I don't understand what Mr. Shem is referencing.
Dr. Hepburn.
Mr. Shim.
Yes, on page 266, it lists all the maintenance funding. That includes the funding that's outlined in the additional funds that were in the appendix. So you see, included in the transfer, there's approximately $115 million for maintenance routine, or the maintenance that's there for work orders, as well as those items listed in the Appendix A.
So then, for clarification, you're saying that there's already money set aside to do these emergency floor repairs?
Yes. Now, that funding hasn't been able to be stretched to do replacements or routine type planned replacements. So that's why additional funding was added based on the additional needs to replace things that are at the end of their life or need to be addressed beyond that funding that's available.
So if I may,
Please help me.
Let me try to simplify it. So we have money for emergency repairs, right? In our budget, in our overall budget for maintenance, we have money for emergency repairs, like your HVAC system breaks down at a school, and we have to repair it. So we have money for that. So then there's another, I think what you're talking about is, if I may use your words, the carpet is old and it looks bad.
No,
right?
it's causing health, like there's
or,
mold.
Or well, I have to ask Allison on the mold part. She'll send her people there to do an evaluation, IQ, indoor air quality evaluation. But if the carpet just looks bad, then the carpet that is a safety hazard is going to take precedence over the carpet that looks bad. And then with the money that we have allocated for floors and floor coverings and so forth, if we have the opportunity, then we will go in there and say it's the main office and it's not so much a safety hazard where you trip, but it just looks bad. Then if we have additional funding, we will go in there and replace that, and we have done that. So what I had said to you is, from a maintenance perspective, let me look and see what Panther Run put in the system for carpet, and we see if it's a specific area we're talking about, then yeah, we can go in there and accommodate that. But if we're talking bond type total replacement, then no, we cannot do that. So we would go to the worst area and try to take care of that. But in terms of doing a whole school and replacing all the carpet and all the flooring, we don't have that capability with the dollars we have.
I have a suggestion or a thought. So instead of taking it from KCW, you're really looking to make sure, because we already said it's just going to put it back a year, it's still going to happen. Why not make a motion that says increase the funding for the flooring by $500,000 for next year, so that it still accomplishes what you're doing, but it doesn't take away from also what needs to happen here at KCW. So it's just, that's where my thoughts are going. Because you're just moving money around, really, so why not just say you would want more and add and make it 500,000?
I want to steal that motion. Do I
So
have to
you're-
formally repeat that motion?
She's amending.
I'm amending my motion to instead take from,
To increase the funding by
increase the funding
500,000.
of 500,000.
Second.
For
Teamwork.
School year. Okay. Any public comment? School board comment? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thanks, guys. So that's, otherwise, I think we're doing a really good job. I understand that there's a lot of priorities and a lot of fixing of things. I just would also stress trying to figure out how to paint quicker, but I know Ms. Paul is already working on that. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm just going to go in order. So next, I have 3 quick questions. Dr. Hepburn, is there funds in this DEFP for master planner for once the FAC comes? How are we? Does it come out of general funds? Does it come out of the DEFP?
Mr. Shim or Ms. Paul?
I believe that was part of the funding that was provided for facilities.
Is it? I don't see it as a line item, so is it embedded in something else?
Yes, I believe it's a part of the funding that was provided for the program management and all the other services that's involved.
Okay, so you said you believe. I just want it to be very solid. So there is funding in this DEFP for a master planner once we get our FAC and I'm sorry, I always get my letters mixed up. Moving forward. Sorry, I believe just doesn't make it solid.
I have been told that there is funding, and I'm acting as if there is funding there. So I think he's just looking for the line item where it's located. But yes.
And if you need to get back to us on a follow-up for that, as long as you're solidly saying we have the funding, you can tell us where I can find it on a follow-up.
Yes, I'll get back with you on a follow-up on that one.
Okay, perfect. Second question, we voted for $1.7 million to go to the sports academy, but I don't see that, which was also mentioned by the public speaker. So where would we find that in the DEFP, or does it need to be amended? Do we need a motion to add that into there today?
Well, the board already voted to include that funding. That happened after we provided copies to the board of this DFP. So it will be in the next amendment to the DFP.
And when will we get that?
When we do our first amendment for the budget, typically either October or November.
Okay, so we're voting on it today. Another DEFP will come forward for us to vote on.
It's just amendment to the budget, our routine amendment. But the board has already approved the funding in the item.
I know that, but I would have liked to have seen it in here so that we can be transparent to the public that we did vote on it and it's in our DEFP plan so that we know. And where is the money coming from? How long does it take? Is it a 5-year plan? Do they get it all in 1 year? I think those things are important to also know. And we may not know all the information till we go to the school and see what it is we're having to fund. So I get that part. But I think the public would really be interested to know, is that money coming all in one chunk? Is it spread out across a couple? So again, that could be a follow-up. But I think people were looking for it as an amendment in the DEFP. And my last question was also brought up by the speaker. Bethune on the amendment, in the appendix, has a K-5 playground, but they do not have a K-1. So I'm just wondering why the K-1 playground isn't included in this DEFP. Dr. Hepburn.
Staff. Go ahead, Ms. Wojcinski.
I'm sorry, I don't have it up right now, but that my understanding was that the one that was missing was the one that was listed in the new playgrounds. And it's scheduled for 27-28.
So the only one listed on here is a 2 through 5. It's also missing a K-1 playground. It only has a preschool playground.
So we will look at that as far as the equipment and the students that can use that, and maybe adjust the signage and add equipment as necessary.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Leonardi.
Thank you. May I go on the list here?
Yep, I'm just going around the circle here.
Would staff advise against amending the DEFP tonight to include that $1.7 million for Sunrise Middle School?
Dr. Hepburn.
Mr. Schiff.
I have no objections.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to add to Sunrise Middle School fiscal year, I believe it would be fiscal year 26, $1.7 million.
Second.
Do I need to identify the scope for that, or is that clear in the item?
Mr. Shim, so you need to provide any additional identification for scope?
No, I believe the item was clear.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment? Any board member comment? I would just say I think we'd also like a follow-up moving forward, how that money would be spent. I know that won't be necessarily right away. But
that was clear at the last meeting. Ms. Paul and her team are communicating with city and school to create the scope for the work, and we'll we'll continue to update the board as we go through that process.
All right, great. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I need clarification before I vote on this motion. Was Board Member Leonardi was given a directive that we incorporate the 1.7 that the board, I did not vote in favor, but the board voted in favor at the last meeting for the Sports Academy. We're now moving that within the current version of the DEFP. I need clarification on the motion.
So my motion was to update the DEFP to accurately reflect how we're spending our capital funds for fiscal year 26. So staff said that it would be coming to us at the next board, well, I think it was the next board meeting, amended. I just wanted to amend it now rather than later.
Was the amendment specific for this 1.7, or it was a general amendment to include anything that may have been missed since the last meeting? Just for the 1.7?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 8-1.
And then I had a question. So I saw, and I had sent this ahead of time, but maybe not in the most timely manner. So I think staff has a heads up on this. For Fort Lauderdale High School, there was some money allocated to for the exterior stairwell enclosure for Building 21. I know there are several other schools in the district that have the same concerns of exterior stairwells that are not enclosed. I'm wondering if there is a plan to include that or to fund those projects for those other schools. I guess I'm wondering what the status is for those additional schools.
Dr. Hepburn.
Ms. Paul.
I would have to provide you with a follow-up on that because I thought we answered it at some point about the stairwells. We have many buildings that are built that way. And so if you would give me the opportunity to go back and look and see what we sent you previously and where we are now, I will provide that to you.
Thank you. And I think previously I had focused primarily on Fort Lauderdale High School. So I just so we're clear about the follow-up, I would like to know the other schools that have these exposed exterior stairwells and what the plan is for those enclosures as well.
I recall you expanding that or in conversation.
You have better memory than I do then.
So yes, I remember the conversation, and I think I just need to go back and see what we came up with, but we did look at it, and I actually went out and visited a couple of schools. So let me provide that follow-up to you.
Okay. And I would just say that if in this journey for more information and figuring out what was communicated before and after, I feel very strongly that we would then need to amend the DEFP or the budget to include funding for enclosing those exterior stairwells, given the history there. And I just also wanted to thank staff over this process over the last few months. I was able to flag a variety of facilities issues, and principals have been reaching out, very grateful for the work that's been done over the summer. So thank you guys for helping and working hard to improve our school facilities and making them great places for kids to go to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bowman.
Thanks, Chair. I'll reiterate that. I think you guys have done a great job on that. It's been good to learn and understand the process and all of the intricacy that goes into putting this together, so I really appreciate it. I'd like to reiterate that I appreciate the Bethune funding, so thank you for finally putting that in there. And then I guess the chair asked my question about the playground, and otherwise I don't really have any additional comments right now, so thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Alhada.
Yes, I had a couple questions. One is the money for the AEDs. Is that additional AEDs, or is it the first time the school is getting an AED?
Dr. Hepburn.
Ms. Wojcicki.
Allison Wojcicki, Director of Environmental Health and Safety. Every school has at least one AED. These are replacements based on age and warranty. additional AEDs for band and ROTC, and additional AEDs to make sure that we are within 3 to 4 minutes of being able to get to an AED.
Okay, and then when we deliver those AEDs, they'll be updated in the mapping system as assets?
Yes, they will. Thank you for that.
And then the vape detection, is that being rolled out to just high schools, or is that middle schools and high schools?
Chief Gregory.
The vape detection program's slotted for the middle schools, as well as the K through 8s, I believe.
It's not at the high school level?
The vape detection, no. Not for this year. Not the program that we have right now. It's for middle schools.
Okay, so only in middle schools, and why are we not doing it in high schools too?
We'll allocate the funding over multiple years, and then I guess the priority was that some of the research was indicating the younger students were starting to vape earlier than the time they got to high school. So trying to intercede with an intervention at the middle school year or grade level was most appropriate because they're starting in middle school, and then by the time they get to high school, they've been doing it already. But we want to address both ends of it eventually.
All right, so I have a problem with this. I think it should be at the middle school and the high school level. We got funding from a lawsuit with Juul to fund this. So the money's there, and so I don't understand why this is not being done at the high school level too. So I'm going to make a motion to allocate funding for the middle school and the high school.
Second.
For vape detection.
Any public comment on the motion? Board member discussion.
Madam Chair.
Dr. Holness.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, is there a reason, as brought forth by Board Member Al-Hadaf, that this was not included in middle and high schools?
Yeah, we supported it based on research and data. Middle school students are, high school students vape also, but the middle school students vape even more, and at that early age, they have the tendency to, get addicted to it and carry that behavior on beyond middle school. Okay. So in most districts that I know of that I've talked to about this issue, they've also started in middle school too, because that's where the prevalence of the vaping has started and carries on.
Was that the only reason why we did not consider high school as well as middle school?
Yes, we supported the rollout based on data and eventually getting to the high school.
Okay. Do we have funding available for middle and high schools? Was the funding adequate?
That is a good question. I don't have the numbers because our middle schools do outnumber our high schools. So I don't know the exact numbers and dollar amounts.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, I think that's an important piece of information, right? Because in terms of if funding was one of the factors, then we could understand, right? So, I think that information would be important to make a decision.
Yep, I don't know if you have the numbers on your, Chief Gregory, or the team member.
Mrs. Alada.
I think Mrs. Batista could opine about it because we got the money from the lawsuit, I believe. It wasn't like $2.3 million.
Yep, we have the money.
Ms. Batista?
So I'm not sure what you would like me to opine about.
No, how much money was the Broward schools received from the lawsuit from Juul to allocate vape detections in our schools? And does that, then my next question will be to the superintendent, does that cover middle schools and high schools?
Right.
So it wasn't specifically earmarked for vape detection. It was anything that would prevent vaping. It could be, for mental health, anything related to, that type of. It was a general settlement that wasn't earmarked specifically for these types of devices, but the devices are also included if that's what the board chooses to spend the money on. And it was, over 3 years, it was like $12 million.
Oh, okay, so I was way off, 12 million.
I think Chief Gregory has some numbers for us.
So in conferring with Mr. Shem, he's identified that the funding is broken out over 2 different years. So the project begins in middle school this year, and the next year there's additional dollars available to start the high school project. Roughly 2.7 million is allocated between 2 separate years.
Dr. Hepburn, Madam Chair, I still have to, okay. So I'm hearing conflicting numbers, right? Because we hear of $12 million and we hear that we're going to spend some money this year and some next year and sort of move it into high. You know, why are we doing this? If we have the money, why don't we just simply put it in the middle and high schools? The money is here. That's why we have that money from the Jewel lawsuit, right? So why are we breaking this up? And secondly, Ms. Batista mentioned that the money is being considered for not just the vaping detection, and she mentioned mental health. We have allocations of funds for mental health already, don't we?
Correct. And so I know that payout predates me, so we have to do some research because I'm not aware of $12 million. I'm aware of probably like $4 or $5 or $6 million.
Okay, so I'll just be direct then. The money that's spent on vaping detectors for middle schools, did we exhaust all the funds if we're just dealing with vaping detectors?
No. So as Chief Gregory mentioned, the project is starting to install them in middle schools first and then high school second.
Okay, so if I'm hearing Board Member Al-Hadef correctly, and I think we could see what the rest of the board thinks, but in my opinion, getting these vaping detectors, if the money is there in middle and high schools, is what we should be concentrating on. The other things that are after effects of vaping can be addressed through mental health allocations and all these other things, but if the money is there, let's put it in all of them.
Well, I think the question for us as staff is not about the amount of money, it's capability. So do we have the capability to install in all middle and high school in 1 year?
I know when we looked at it last year too, one of the pieces we had to consider was the wiring component and connecting the devices to our servers. So the number of schools we'd be able to do at one time was limited when we looked at that with IT last year as well. So that's why we felt going into this year we could handle the scope of middle schools and then look at the high schools in year 2.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, if money is not the issue, but implementation or installation of these devices is impacting the time, then couldn't this board make a motion today that all of those fundings are used to install vape detectors in all middle and high schools, and then you come back to us with a time frame as to when the earliest time that this could be done in an expedited fashion?
Yeah. So I think we are already on that plan. I think what we need to come back to the board to let you know what is our current capabilities of executing as many vape detectors in year 1, if we can actually include the high schools in year 1 based on the capability, because we're already spending the money on middle and high school. We're just saying that, hey, we're going to implement it based on our current capabilities in middle school year 1 and in high schools year 2. I think what we can bring back to the board is going back to the drawing board to say, hey, can we do middle and high school, or how many high schools can we do in year 1? So we can bring that back because we are spending the money
Okay.
on middle and high
So
school.
I have a question, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair. If we can't do this within a year for all of the schools, then we could prioritize based upon data analysis as to the problematic schools that we've seen vaping as an issue, both middle and high schools, and continue to roll it out over 2 years if we can't do it in 1 year. But there has to be a mechanism where we're not just saying, let's do middle schools, when we have probably high schools that have major issues with vaping. So I think we should proceed based upon data. And I mean, I would love to see it done in 1 year, but if it can't, then I think we should prioritize over for both middle and high schools and spend the money that we have.
Yep. So we'll have the team look at implementation based on the historical data that we have for vaping for our schools and the timeline that we can actually execute with fidelity. We can bring that back to the board and provide a memo based on the plan.
Madam Chair, I have, go ahead.
Just to correct the number, so the 12 million was the total amount for all the plaintiffs. for the allocation for the school board of Broward County was December 2024 is a little bit over $1 million. December 2025 also 1.1 is $1,114,328, and the same amount for December of 2026.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I
So
knew
roughly, yes.
about 4.
Yes, and then there is other monies that were not captured in the initial and are going to be sent because of the Altria settlement, not just the Juul settlement. So that was a little bit more, probably a total of about $4 or $5 million.
For just us or for?
Yes, just for Broward.
Okay.
Because there were two defendants. One was Juul and the other one was Altria.
Okay.
So there were two separate settlements.
Got you. Okay, thank you for that clarification. I have a question on this. So we don't have the capability because we don't have the staffing. Is it possible to hire or consult outside vendor to augment what we're doing so that we could finish it in the first year? And while they're doing that, can you give us a timeline of when they will start to go into the middle school? I mean, I know you're on a cadence now, so
Yep.
do we have?
I'll let Chief Gregory give you that detail. I know we just finished up a great pilot to actually choose the devices that's going to work best for us in our schools. Go ahead, Chief Gregory. They wanted to know the timeline as far as the implementation now, when they're going to start installing them in the middle schools.
So with regard to the question of how rapidly we can ramp it up, the limitation does involve staff and staff availability. However, we do have the opportunity to try to contract more work out to outside vendors. If we contract out our infrastructure network work as well as the devices themselves, we may be able to expedite how quickly they can be installed and rolled out.
And then when are we starting with this first round?
We've already started technically. We're working with procurement to finalize the correct procurement vehicle, whether it be a state contract or a piggyback contract. We're working through that with procurement.
So when do you, I know we had a pilot, when do you expect to start putting them into whichever school it is we're going to start with?
As soon as we get through procurement. And that's an unknown for me as far as how long it'll take to work through those elements. But as soon as we get an answer and we can execute, we're ready to move forward.
And how long do they take to install?
I'll have to bring back a project plan through a follow-up with you on what the project plan calls for.
Okay, Mrs. Alhida.
So my thinking is, data should drive what schools to put these vape detectors in first. And so to that point, I would love to see for middle school and high school, the amount of vaping that's going on in the schools, to determine whether it's going to go in a high school before a middle school. I believe it's the data. I mean, you can give an overall philosophy regarding vaping and when it starts and prevention, but I think it's the data should drive what schools get the vape detectors first.
And we'll provide the data, and we'll look at the data too. The one thing about vaping, because we've gone through this in different iterations, the one thing about vaping data is that it's not often caught because you can't smell it. So most schools depend on actually catching a kid with a vape, or somebody's telling on a kid who's vaping in the bathroom. So that's why research is so valuable with it, and understanding where are the age groups that have the most issues. But we'll look at our discipline data to see how that looks for between middle and high school, and make adjustments if needed.
And I would just say, as a parent, parents expect that these vape detectors are in our bathrooms. I mean, I know kids that literally will not go to the bathroom the whole entire day because they're scared to go into the bathroom because the vaping is going on. And also the vaping is clogging our toilets and causing plumbing issues.
No, you're absolutely right.
So it's really important that, we have this funding from this lawsuit. The expectation is that it's at the middle school and high school level, drive-by data. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes.
We're on the same item.
We're still on Mrs. Alhad. We haven't voted on her motion.
Okay. Could the motion be repeated?
Mrs. Alhadef, could you repeat your motion?
To install the vape detectors in all middle and high schools this school year.
Okay, Madam Chair, could we also, and I don't know if Board Member Al Hadaf would like to add this, but we did talk about it. She mentioned as well, based on data analysis as far as priority. So, would that be? I think that would be necessary for the motion, that it's prioritized based on data analysis.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, perfect. All those in favor of the motion? Oh.
I just want to say, I understand the board's going to vote on this. We will bring back the project plan with a timeline. So if whatever's voted on, if we can't execute all, we will bring that back and explain the reason why, even if we're using additional vendors, because I know we're going to be limited based on the people who are installing it, be it it's us or bringing in additional vendors. So we'll bring that information back regardless of what the vote is. So I just want to say that before we vote.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Mrs. Rupert.
Thank you. We're on to my original, my real question. I get to answer that now. Ask that now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want to appreciate staff. I so appreciate them. They actually got all my my questions to me. There's just one I needed to just hear. Talking about the funding of us fully understanding the building automation systems. I had asked what will it entail, which they explained, but how will it impact our employees? Because I'm still hearing from employees that are nervous, so I wanted to hear this on the record.
Dr. Hepburn.
Is it the Fastenal? I'm trying to, go ahead, Ms. Paul, if you know what she's discussing.
Building automation, that's basically having controls over the temperature in your buildings. So it's like a thermostat. It allows us to adjust remotely the temperature in our schools. And so that's the whole purpose of it, to be able to put controls over the temperature in a building.
And just to add to what Ms. Paul is talking about too, this goes back to also resiliency and also being more green. With the inability to really see and control ACs centrally, we waste a lot of money because some buildings are staying on all day at a very low temperature with nobody occupying the building at that time. So it's going to give us a better lens so we can control temperature when nobody's occupying the building, so we can actually save money on that end too.
Right, I appreciate that. And 100% for it because, like I said, Lions Creek's having trouble with their air. So I absolutely support that 100%. And I look forward, I've already very nicely spoken with Ms. Paul about Fastenal and about some other things that are going to be coming in September. So I look forward to seeing them. And I appreciate my colleagues having their questions and wherewithal to ask what's best for our students and our employees. So I appreciate that very much. And I am ready to yield back my time. And I'm back in the U.S., thank God. Barely, but we're here.
Well, thank you and welcome back. Dr. Zeman. Okay, Dr. Holness.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the next three motions that I have will be based on the $5.9 million allocation in the ecosystem of MLK, Broad Estates Early Learning Center, and Plantation Elementary. So the motion is to just be more specific into the needs of these three schools and ensuring that the 5.9 million to which the board has already agreed to spend in the ecosystem is being spent wisely at these three schools. And then lastly, I have a fourth motion to include an item in the DEFP. So I'll start with MLK. As it has been agreed that the 5.9 million in smart bond funds originally allocated to Broad Estates will remain within the three schools ecosystem. I move that a portion of these funds be allocated to support the following capital improvements at Dr. MLK Elementary School, and I will rely on Dr. Hepburn to give me an idea as to when these can be completed, which will then be placed in a motion. Number one, the installation and extension of permanent covered walkways. The district had responded with a financial impact of $1,545,000. Secondly, new playground being relocated for grades 3 through 5 with canopy. Cost, the district indicated $255,000. And then HVAC, controls, stormwater, and campus accessibility renovations, cost of $1,060,000. And lastly, resurfacing of the front entrance and bus loop, a cost of approximately $200,000. The approximate cost for MLK for all of these needed work is approximately $3,060,000.
Second.
Any public comment? Board member discussion? So I missed the first part. Is that coming from the 5 million?
The 5.9 million that we had already approved as a board.
Okay.
So it's just sort of directing the superintendent for specifics because this is already in the DEFP, correct, Dr. Hepburn?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other board member discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next school in the ecosystem, which is Plantation Elementary. As it has been agreed that the 5.9 million in smart bond funds originally allocated to Broad Estates will remain within the three schools ecosystem, I move that a portion of these funds be allocated to support the following capital improvements at Plantation Elementary, which includes 1, installation and extension of permanent covered walkways, financial impact $540,000. 2, restroom renovation project, financial impact $1,020,000. And 3, HVAC controls and campus accessibility renovations, financial impact $665,000 for a total of $2,475,000.
Second.
Any public comment on the motion? Any board member comment on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion passes without, I don't think Dr. Siemens on the line anymore, so.
Okay.
Motion passes unanimously, 8-0.
Okay, third motion, Madam Chair, thank you. This is for Broad Estates Early Learning Center. As it has been agreed that the 5.9 million in smart bond funds originally allocated to Broad Estates will remain within the three schools ecosystem, I move that the remainder of the funds be allocated to address the facilities concerns at Broad Estates Early Learning Center to include HVAC repairs, secondly, interior painting and wall damage.
Second.
Any public comment on the motion? Board member comment? Dr. Holmes, do you know what that amount is?
That amount has not yet been determined, and that's the reason the motion said I move that the remainder of the funds be used to offset the cost or complete the cost of these two items.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously without Dr. Zeman.
Okay, and Madam Chair, that would exhaust the 5.9 million. So I am moving, I'm making another motion because Broward Estates Early Learning Center, that is servicing students all across Broward County, has indicated, based upon information received from Mr. Shims, regarding re-roof buildings related to the Early Learning Center. We have children who are pre-K children attending this Early Learning Center, and it's important that they have safe buildings. The buildings need re-roofing based upon, as I'm being told, the condition facilities assessment, Dr. Hepburn, and the total cost for that is $846,000. I move that this is included and added to the DEFP.
Second.
Any public comment? Board member discussion? I have a question. So why wasn't that included?
Not adequate funding remaining for the re-roof buildings that's indicated within the CFA.
Okay, I guess just looking at it, I would have thought re-roofing would have been before covered walkways, playgrounds, all of that, especially with the roof. But Dr. Hepburn, can you can you weigh in on this and give us, like?
First, if I can ask Mr. Shim, is that already in the DEFP, the roofing for certain buildings that are occupying kids at Broward Estates, just to make sure?
No, I don't believe that's
Okay.
funded.
And if not, it sounds like it's not an 840,000 ask. But if there's 500,000 left over from the 5.9, it's a 346,000 ask.
Well,
No, because that money was what we just passed to say whatever was left. So if
What
there
it
was
is-
500,000 left that was going to Broward Estates for the other.
What roofing are we talking about? I
items.
thought we were talking about
Broward.
Broward Estates.
That's why I'm asking.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, the information that was presented to me from staffing has Broward Estates listed as needing re-roof buildings related to Early Learning Center. That I did not ascertain myself. That was based upon data presented to me by staff. So is that accurate?
Yes, I'm seeing a nod. That's accurate. Just want to confirm it's not currently in the DEFP.
The 5.9 million, the original amount that was set aside for Broward Estates included the roofing
Okay,
as part
gotcha.
of the project.
But
The original amount.
The original. before
right, but we
did
just
the
went through. I wished we had known this piece before all the other ones, because now with what we just passed, those other three motions, we've exhausted the 5.9. So there's not money in that 5.9 for roofing because we didn't include it in all those things that you broke down, which would have made more sense to include it in there. So now I'm just a little.
So out of the, I thought, as Dr. Holness was going through his items, I heard there was some left over, and
Whatever was left over, but he was specific for what went to Broward Estates, which was,
Right.
this is separate, this is a fourth
Okay.
motion. So it would have helped to know you had this piece also, so we could have maybe adjusted the other one, because I really don't feel comfortable going over the 5.9, because we had all agreed that we would stay within that 5.9, because it was for Broward Estates, and now all the money went to everywhere but Broward Estates, and now we're gonna give an extra almost million, which they need. But, I mean, the whole point of making it early learning was so that we didn't incur all the costs, so I'm just a little.
Okay, so Madam Chair, may I clarify? Okay, so I know that there are schools all across Broward County that have needs that that are included, some of them in the DEFP. I look at the express needs of the three schools, and having the $5.9 million that was in the SMART bond allocation being exhausted, I thought it would be reasonable to cover what we saw as the concerns, and then ask that the remaining costs be included in DEFP. That was my rationale. Depending on the, I mean, I'd love to see what the board vote is for it, and then I may have additional comments. But you know, the needs that were expressed here, the HVAC controls for Plantation as well as MLK, that became new to me recently. I learned of that a few hours ago. But the other needs I did get information on, and so I had to pivot and adjust very quickly as a result of these emerging needs that came forth to me today.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, Broward Estates, is there any parts of that school that are in consideration for being demolished?
That's going to be a board decision moving forward as we go through our process with FCA. So FCA is going to bring back a lot of data for all of our schools, and the board is going to have to make some decisions based on dollar amount. But again, one thing that Dr. Holness mentioned, I think that resonates with me, is that we do have kids in some of the buildings, not all.
So is this roofing, do you know this roofing piece specifically, is that in only covering where students are? I just would hate to say yes to roofing and find out later that we don't have it. Like, I'd rather make this decision after the FAC.
Madam Chair,
Whatever, FCA.
I did ask that question, and I'll let them answer, but I was told that in the Early Learning Center, these are the areas where current pre-K students are, which creates a significant concern as far as their overall well-being, and these are pre-kindergarten kids.
And how soon would, if we voted on this, how soon would roofing start?
Ms. Paul.
Well, once we have the assessment of what's needed there, we would have to come up with a project plan and a schedule for it. So I'm not at liberty to say that it would start tomorrow or next week. So we would have to look at that. So determine the timeline.
If we waited to see what the FCA said, which was next month, right, would we be putting this project off too long? Or would it be similar in terms of, like, if they came back and we knew we were going to keep everything there? I just don't want to make this big of a decision without information similar to the other items that we had before us.
I think it's prioritizing. Just like, for example, Broward Estates, we didn't spend that money on Broward Estates because, you know, we went through redefining. So, however the board votes, there will have to be a project plan created anyway when the FCA comes back with certain information if the board makes a certain decision at that time for any school, including Broward Estates.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm just frustrated. I would have liked to have known this piece before we did the other three, because I would have reduced some of the other money, because that 5.9 was for Broward Estates.
Right.
And most of that money ended up going to MLK, which I know that's where the students are, but I don't know that I would have made covered walkways over roofing, but now I don't get to make that decision because we did these in isolation. So I guess that's my frustration.
And Madam Chair, the information, the added cost for Plantation and MLK, that information came to me this morning, so I had to sort of quickly adjust to what I had originally planned, which would have been different than what's here.
No, I hear that. I'm just saying, it would have been maybe to give us all the information and let us figure out where that fell in, as opposed to the chunk that it came out. But I mean, it is what it is. So, anybody else? I need my glasses. Okay. Well, let's see. So, I would like to make a motion to reconsider what the money that we allocated for MLK, so that we can offset the cost and the total comes to the 5.9 that we've already committed to. Okay, perfect. Board member discussion?
Madam Chair? Okay, so I guess we're trying to get to a number of the 846,000, correct?
I just want the total for all of these three school things to come out to 5.9.
I understand. So the re-roof indicated here to cost 846,000. So in order to be able to complete that work, we would then adjust MLK and possibly Plantation. Was your motion just to adjust MLK or to adjust both schools?
Well, to be honest, I think my motion was MLK, but I can adjust it to say, to make the total of whatever the improvements to MLK, Plantation, and Broward Estates total no more than the 5.9 we've already.
Understand. So, Madam Chair, I have a few questions. Dr. Hepburn, based upon Board Member Hickson's motion, and when we look at Plantation Elementary as well as MLK, HVAC controls were added later, recent to my knowledge. Can you inform the board as to how much of a priority the HVAC controls are for both Plantation and MLK?
Ms. Paul.
I think it's very important to have the controls in both buildings.
Okay. Okay, regarding the, I believe the resurfacing came later, so as a board member, I would recommend foregoing the resurfacing of MLK because I think the extended covered walkways are important for the students, as well as the new playground to be relocated. That would provide an additional $200,000. Madam Chair. For MLK, my suggestion would be to forego the resurfacing of MLK, which is the $200,000. That would provide that additional $200,000 towards the re-roofing of Broward Estate Elementary. And then for Plantation, Dr. Hepburn, regarding the playground at Plantation Elementary, will that be, because it's in very poor condition, will that be something that will be considered at any time in the distant future? Because I know because I visited the school, they do need the extended walkways for the incoming students, and the restroom is a safety issue over there. So the playground, are you able to speak to the dilapidated condition of the playground as to how in the near or distant future that could be addressed?
Ms. Wojciechowski. I think she has a list.
Allison Wojciechowski, Director of Environmental Health and Safety. So we've been out there to look at the playgrounds. There are work orders in for repairs, but to address the surfacing material, to add a shade, to do a new component at one of them. So we're talking close to $400,000 to make all of those improvements. We would just need to add it. We could do some of the repairs and then add the shade if we move forward with that, and add the funding and we have funding for PIP.
Okay, so Madam Chair, regarding playground at Plantation Elementary, I would recommend we forego that. We are considering shade structure for all schools, and I believe Dr. Hepburn, regular maintenance will take care of any repairs of that playground, correct?
Is that correct, Ms. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, so that now pushes $450,000 back into Broward Estates Early Learning Center. And lastly, regarding Broward Estates Early Learning Center, Dr. Hepburn, the HVAC repairs, is that something that's absolutely needed at Broward Estates Early Learning Center?
Ms. Paul.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. The interior paint and wall damage, is that something that's normally done through maintenance?
Ms. Paul.
Okay, so Dr. Hepburn, I would like to see the interior paint and wall damage considered through the regular maintenance, and that is removed as a cost factor in the 5.9 million. And Madam Chair, I don't know if that gets us to 800. I don't think it does, but I'm not sure what else could be. That would put an additional 500,000 or 600,000 back towards 800.
I'm having a hard time keeping up. What I got was to take out the resurface bus loop, which was 200,000.
Yes.
The playground that was at MLK playground.
250,000.
Oh, 250. MLK, the playground, to remove the playground request, which was 400,000.
450. And then to take out the interior paint and wall damage.
700. Sorry, go ahead.
And to remove the interior paint and wall damage. That did not come with a cost, so we don't know. So I'm assuming there's a difference of about 300,000+, maybe that.
Sounds like there's a difference of about 100 without the paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 100.
What is 105?
Close enough.
I thought the re-roofing cost 800 and something thousand.
846.
846, and I suggested removing 450,000 plus the. Okay, so there were. We don't know the cost of the HVAC repair, so there was already 500,000 remaining roughly, and then we added another 450 to 500. So there's $1 million. So I don't know if there is. I don't know what the HVAC repair would cost to be able to do the re-roofing and the HVAC.
So we have to make a new motion anyway because we reconsidered. So would it make sense to make a motion that said that we would put the 5.9 million that's already put aside into projects that have been discussed in MLK Plantation and Broward Estates that include the things, and then have them come back to us with totals? I think it's hard to get totals right here while we're working on that. Mrs. Alhada.
Can I just add to the ending of your motion, based on the recommendations from the superintendent?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That was what came to me. So that. And thank you, Board Member Al-Hadef. That was based on recommendations he presented to me. So.
Okay.
That, yeah.
So I think I have to make a motion because I made a motion to reconsider. So I would like to move that we change our. Do I have to say change or just make a motion? Change the allocations to state that we would cover the projects recommended by the superintendent for MLK Plantation and Broward Estates, not to exceed the 5.9 promised to the community.
Second.
Okay. Any public comment on the motion? Any board member comment on the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to, for the superintendent to expound on his understanding of your motion, because there were items that were deemed to be important, and I just want to make sure he understands fully what the motion is asking.
Yes, based on the motion and the discussion that I just heard, the items that were detailed out or itemized is what we're going to essentially prioritize.
Right. Yep. So they'll look and see what is the most. The ones that are needed the most.
Okay, so Madam Chair, does this necessitate my original motions being withdrawn?
Yes.
Okay.
We can pass this and then we can do it afterwards.
Okay, so Madam Chair, would you be okay with the superintendent, if we pass this motion today, bring back to us what he considered priorities within the $5.9 million?
Be a follow-up, right? I think it could be a follow-up.
Okay.
Okay. All those in motion, all those in favor of the motion not to exceed, to itemize as per the superintendent's recommendation by necessity and priority, not to exceed the 5.9 already promised in this community, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Dr. Holness.
Madam Chair, at this time I am withdrawing my prior motions.
Second. Second. Do we have to vote on that?
No.
No. Okay.
Just say without
without objection of the board. So it's been withdrawn without objection of the board. So, thank you. All right, any other items? We're good, we're good? Oh, okay. All right. All in favor of adopting the fiscal year 25-26 DEFP as amended for the 5 years beginning July 1st, 2025, ending June 30th, 2026, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously without Dr. Zeman. The scheduled order of business for this special meeting of the School Board of Broward County, Florida has been completed. Seeing no other obligations, I now adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.